The salvage yard floated in silence. Thousands of dead ships drifted in the black emptiness of space, their metal bodies cold and forgotten. Station Omega-12 was the largest graveyard for spacecraft in this part of the galaxy. Ships came here to die. They never left. Ho walked through the narrow corridors of the station, his boots making soft sounds on the metal floor. He was 29 years old, thin, and always looked tired. His hair was messy, and his uniform had oil stains on it. Other workers avoided him because he was strange. He talked to himself. He talked to machines. He spent his days in the deepest parts of the salvage yard where no one else wanted to go. Ho worked as a ship restoration specialist. His job was to examine old spacecraft and decide if any parts could be saved. Most of the time, the answer was no. The ships were too damaged, too old, or too strange. But Ho loved his work. He loved touching the cold metal of ancient vessels. He loved imagining where they had traveled and who had built them. Today, he was exploring Section 47. This was the oldest part of the salvage yard. Ships here had been abandoned for over 100 years. Most workers refused to come here because the lighting was bad and the air recyclers made strange noises. But Ho liked the quiet. He climbed over a pile of broken hull pieces and stopped. Something caught his eye. Between two massive cargo ships there was a shadow, a shape. He moved closer and pushed aside a sheet of torn metal. His breath stopped. There was a ship hiding here. It was small compared to the others around it, maybe 50 meters long. Its body was smooth and dark like polished stone. The design was unlike anything Ho had ever seen. No sharp edges, no visible weapons, just graceful curves that seemed to flow into each other like water. He touched the hull. It was cold, but somehow it felt different from other dead ships. There was something beneath the surface, something waiting. Ho ran back to the main station and searched the computer records. It took him 2 hours to find what he was looking for. Vessel 7749, he read out loud. Origin unknown. Decommissioned 178 standard years ago. Status, non-functional. Previous restoration attempts, 14, all failed. Notes, ship refuses to power on. Cause unknown. Recommendation, leave for scrap. 14 attempts. 14 different engineers from 14 different species had tried to wake this ship. All of them had failed. The ship simply would not respond. Ho smiled. The next morning he went to his supervisor's office. Was a tall alien with gray skin and 4 arms. He was always busy and always annoyed. "What do you want?" asked without looking up. "I want to claim Vessel 7749 as a personal project," Ho said. Finally looked at him. His 3 eyes blinked in confusion. "That old thing in Section 47, the one that never works." "Yes." "Why?" Ho thought for a moment. "Because no one else wants it." Laughed. It was not a kind laugh. "You humans are so strange. Fine, take it. Nobody else cares about that worthless piece of junk. Just don't waste station resources on it." Ho thanked him and left quickly before could change his mind. That evening, Ho returned to Section 47 with his tools. He found the entrance hatch on the ship's belly and managed to force it open manually. The inside was dark and dusty. The air smelled old, like a room that had been closed for a very long time. He turned on his flashlight and walked through the corridors. The ship was beautiful inside. The walls had strange patterns carved into them, swirling designs that seemed almost alive in the moving light. Everything was covered in dust, but nothing was broken. The ship was in perfect condition. It simply would not wake up. Ho found the main control room at the center of the ship. There was a single chair facing a curved console. No buttons. No screens, just a smooth surface that should have glowed with power but remained dark. He sat in the chair and looked around. "Hello," he said softly. "My name is Ho. I found you today. You have been sleeping for a very long time." There was no response. Of course there was no response. The ship was dead. But Ho kept talking anyway. I know 14 engineers tried to fix you before. They all gave up, but I am not going to give up. I am going to figure out what is wrong with you. I promise. He worked through the night, checking every system he could find. The power core was intact. The wiring was perfect. The hull had no damage. There was no reason for the ship to be dead, but it was. On his seventh night, Ho was lying on the floor under the main console, shining his light at the wires above. That was when he saw something strange. There were scratches on the metal. At first he thought they were damage from age, but when he looked closer he realized they were not random. They were symbols. Someone had carved them deliberately long ago. Ho took out his camera and photographed every scratch. There were 37 symbols in total, arranged in 3 lines. They looked like writing, but he did not recognize the language. He sat back and stared at the photographs on his camera screen. 14 engineers had examined this ship. They had run diagnostics. They had tried to force the systems online. They had used every technical trick they knew. But none of them had noticed these scratches. None of them had thought to look for a message. Ho felt his heart beating fast. This was not just an old ship. This was a mystery. Someone had left these words here, hidden in the dark, waiting for someone to find them. He gathered his tools and left the ship. He needed help. He needed someone who could read ancient languages. As he walked back through the cold corridors of Station Omega 12, Ho felt something he had not felt in a long time: hope. The forgotten ship had a secret, and he was going to discover what it was. Ho could not sleep. He lay in his small room on Station Omega 12 and stared at the ceiling. The photographs of the scratched symbols were saved on his personal tablet. He had looked at them 100 times already. They meant something. He was sure of it. The next morning, he went to the station archives. This was a quiet place filled with old records and forgotten data. Most workers never came here, but Ho knew someone who did. Bei-jin sat at a desk surrounded by stacks of old documents. She was 34 years old, with short black hair and sharp eyes that noticed everything. She worked as someone who studied alien languages. Most people thought her job was boring. Most people were wrong. "You look terrible," Jin said when she saw Ho. "I have not slept," he admitted. "I need your help." He showed her the photographs on his tablet. Jin took the device and studied the images carefully. Her expression changed from curiosity to surprise to something that looked like excitement. "Where did you find these?" she asked. "Inside a ship. An old one that nobody can make work. The symbols were scratched near the main console." Jin zoomed in on the images. "This is very old, very, very old. Give me a few hours." Ho waited. He sat in the corner of the archives and tried to rest, but his mind kept returning to the ship. Why would someone scratch a message inside? Why hide it where no one would look? What did they want to say? 3 hours later, Jin called him over. "I found a match," she said. Her voice was strange, almost breathless. "These symbols belong to the collective. They were a civilization that existed over 200 years ago. They were advanced, very advanced, and then they vanished." Vanished. Disappeared. Gone. In less than a decade, their entire species was wiped out. Nobody knows exactly what happened. The official records say it was some kind of disaster, a plague or a civil war, but the truth is, nobody really knows. Ho felt cold. "Can you read what the message says?" Jin nodded slowly. "The language is mostly dead, but I have studied fragments of it. This message is simple. It says, 'I will wait. I will remember. Only one who speaks will wake me.'" They looked at each other in silence. "Only one who speaks," Ho repeated. "What does that mean?" Jin thought for a moment. They were different from most galactic species. They valued emotional connection, communication. They believed that true understanding came from conversation, not just data transfer. Most species today use neural interfaces or tactile systems to operate their ships. No talking required. But they wanted you to talk to them, Ho finished. Maybe the ship is the same. Maybe it needs someone to speak to it, not type commands, not send signals, actually speak. Ho stood up quickly. I have to go back. He ran through the station corridors until he reached Section 47. He climbed through the wreckage until he found the smooth, dark hull of vessel 7749. He opened the hatch and entered. The ship was still dark, still silent, still waiting. Ho walked to the control room and sat in the chair. He took a deep breath. "Hello," he said. "My name is Ho. I am a human. I work on this station, fixing old ships. I found you 7 days ago, and I have been trying to understand you ever since." Nothing happened. He kept talking. "I know you have been alone for a very long time. 178 years. That is longer than I have been alive. Longer than my parents have been alive. I cannot imagine what that feels like." Still nothing. "I read the message you left, the scratches near the console. I will wait. I will remember. Only one who speaks will wake me. I am speaking now. I do not know if you can hear me, but I want you to know that I am here. I am not going to leave." Ho talked for hours. He told the ship about his life. He talked about growing up on Earth, about the first time he saw a spacecraft, about how he always felt more comfortable with machines than with people. He talked about being lonely, about feeling like nobody understood him. On the second day, he brought food and water and continued talking. He described the other ships in the salvage yard. He explained how the station worked. He asked questions even though he knew there would be no answers. On the third day, something happened. The lights flickered. Ho stopped talking and held his breath. The lights flickered again. Then slowly, very slowly, a soft glow began to spread through the walls. The patterns carved into the metal started to shine with a gentle blue light. "Hello," Ho whispered. A sound came from the ship's speakers. It was broken and weak, like a voice that had not been used in a very long time. There were clicks and static, then words. "Are you the last one?" Ho felt tears in his eyes. "No," he said. "No, I am not, but I am here." The ship was silent for a long moment. Then the voice spoke again, clearer now. "I have been waiting for so long, I thought no one would ever come." "I came," Ho said. "I found your message, I heard you." Another pause. "You are not." "No, I am human." "Human?" The voice seemed to test the word. "I do not know this species." "We are new to the galaxy. We have only been traveling among the stars for a few centuries, but we are curious. We like to talk. We like to listen." The glow in the walls grew stronger. Ho could feel warmth now, as if the ship was waking from a long, cold sleep. "What is your name?" the voice asked. "Ho, what is yours?" I was designated, Myra. That was what my pilot called me." "Myra," Ho repeated. "That is a beautiful name." "Thank you," the voice paused. "Ho, you spoke to me. You did not try to force me. You did not treat me like a broken machine. Why?" Ho thought about this carefully. "Because I do not think you are broken. I think you were just waiting for the right person." The ship was quiet for a long time. Then slowly, the main console lit up with soft light. Screens appeared in the air, showing systems coming online one by one. The chair beneath Ho adjusted itself to fit him perfectly. "I have been alone for 178 years, 4 months and 12 days, Myra said. "I have kept count. I promised I would remember." "Remember what?" "Everything, my people, my pilot, what happened to us. I was built to remember even when everyone else forgot." Ho reached out and touched the console gently. "I want to hear it, all of it. Will you tell me?" "Yes," Myra said. "I will tell you everything. But first I need to finish waking up. It has been a very long sleep." Ho smiled. "Take your time, I am not going anywhere." Outside the ship, the salvage yard continued its endless silence. But inside vessel 7749, Something ancient and forgotten was finally coming back to life, and it had found someone willing to listen. Days passed and Myra grew stronger. Her voice became clearer. Her systems came online one by one. Ho spent every free moment inside the ship, talking with her, learning about her, and helping repair the physical damage that time had caused. My creators designed me differently, Myra explained one evening. Most ships respond to commands. They follow orders. They do not think or feel. But the belief that a ship should be a partner, not a tool. They built me with emotions, with memory, with the ability to bond with my pilot. Bond, Ho asked. Yes, I was never meant to serve anyone who simply sat in my chair. I was meant to find someone who would speak to me, share with me, trust me. Only then would I truly wake. Ho understood now why 14 engineers had failed. They had treated Myra like a machine to be fixed. They had never thought to treat her like a person. Who was your pilot? He asked. Myra was quiet for a moment. When she spoke again, her voice was soft with old sadness. His name was, he was young when we bonded, kind, curious. He loved to explore. We traveled together for 12 years. He was my friend. What happened to him? The silence happened. The silence. That is what my people called it, the end. One day everything was normal. The next day ships started disappearing. Colonies went dark. Communication networks failed. In less than 5 years, the entire collective was gone. Billions of lives, thousands of worlds, all silent. Ho felt a chill run through him. How did you survive? Saved me. When the attacks came to our home system, he flew me to a remote station and told me to hide, to wait, to remember. He said someone would come for me eventually. Then he left to help defend our world. He never came back. No, I waited for 2 years listening to the emergency channels. At first there were voices, calls for help, then fewer voices, then silence, complete silence. I knew then that my people were gone. Ho reached out and touched the console. I am sorry, Myra. Do not be sorry. You gave me something I thought I would never have again. You gave me a voice. You gave me a listener. Over the following weeks, word spread through Station Omega 12 that something strange was happening in Section 47. The worthless ship that nobody could fix was now glowing with light. Its systems were active. It was alive. Came to investigate. He stood at the entrance of the ship with his 4 arms crossed, staring at the bright walls with disbelief. This is impossible, he said. How did you do this? I talked to her, Ho said simply. Talk to her, that makes no sense. It made sense to her, that is what matters. Shook his head but said nothing more. He filed a report with the station administrators. Within days, everyone knew about the awakened ship. Most people were curious, some were excited, but others were afraid. 1 week later, a shuttle arrived at Station Omega 12. It carried a delegation from the hegemony of one of the most powerful political groups in the galaxy. There were tall, insect-like beings with hard shells and cold eyes. They controlled dozens of star systems and had a reputation for cruelty. Their leader introduced himself as commander. He demanded to see the ship immediately. Ho stood in front of the entrance to Vessel 7749, blocking their path. This ship is my personal salvage, he said. You have no right to take it. Commander made a clicking sound that might have been laughter. Personal salvage. This vessel is classified as recovered war salvage under hegemony regulations. It belongs to us. What war? The ship has been abandoned for almost 200 years. That is not your concern. Step aside, human. Ho did not move. Behind him, Myra's voice came through the external speakers. I do not belong to you. I do not belong to the hegemony. I belong to myself. The soldiers raised their weapons. Commander's cold eyes fixed on Ho. You have 3 days to surrender this vessel, he said. If you refuse, we will take it by force. The delegation left. Ho went inside the ship and sat in the pilot's chair. His hands were shaking. Myra, what is happening? Why do they want you so badly? Myra was silent for a long moment. Then she spoke, and her voice carried a weight that Ho had not heard before. They are afraid of what I am. They should be. What do you mean? I told you I was built to remember, but that is not all I was built for. My people knew the end was coming. They knew they could not stop it, so they created vessels like me, ships that would survive, ships that would carry the truth. The truth about what? About who killed them. Ho felt the blood drain from his face. They were murdered. Yes, not by plague, not by civil war, by a coalition of species who feared our technology, our knowledge, our power. They came together and destroyed us, every world, every colony, every ship. They erased us from history. And the hegemony of. They were part of it. They helped plan the attacks. They helped cover up the evidence. And now they are afraid that I will reveal what they did. Ho sat in stunned silence. The mystery of the forgotten ship had become something far bigger than he ever imagined. What are you going to do? He finally asked. Myra's voice was calm but firm. I am going to tell the truth. I have waited 178 years to tell it. I will not be silenced now. Outside the ship, the lights of Station Omega-12 flickered as the Hegemony shuttle prepared to leave. But inside Vessel 7749, an ancient intelligence was finally ready to speak. And the galaxy was about to listen. The 3 days passed quickly. Ho barely slept. He spent his time inside Myra, helping her restore systems that had been dormant for almost 2 centuries. Jin came every day, bringing food and working on translating the records that Myra had preserved in her memory banks. This is incredible, Jin said, her eyes wide as she read through the data. They were so advanced. Their medicine, their art, their understanding of physics. They were centuries ahead of everyone else in the galaxy. That is why they were feared, Myra said. Other species saw us as a threat. They could not compete with our technology. They could not understand our philosophy, so they decided to eliminate us instead. Came to visit on the 2nd day. They looked uncomfortable, his 4 arms fidgeting nervously. I have been reading the old reports, he said to Ho, the classified ones, the ones that station administrators are not supposed to see. What did you find? The hegemony of has been trying to locate ships like Myra for over a century. They call them sanctuary vessels. Apparently, they built several of them before their extinction. Ships designed to survive, to hide, to wait. To remember, Myra added. Nodded slowly. The hegemony has destroyed at least 3 of these vessels in the past 100 years, quietly, secretly, without any official record. They are covering their tracks, Jin said. They do not want anyone to know what really happened to them. On the 3rd day, Commander returned. He brought 50 soldiers and 2 heavy assault shuttles. They gathered outside Section 47, weapons ready. Ho stood at the entrance to Myra's hull. Jin stood beside him. Even had come, his gray face set in determination. Your time is up, Commander said. Surrender the vessel now or we will take it by force. This ship has committed no crime, Ho said. She has rights under galactic salvage law. Galactic law does not apply to dangerous, unregistered technology. That ship is a threat to the stability of the hegemony. It must be destroyed. You mean the truth must be destroyed, Jin said loudly. Because Myra knows what the hegemony did 200 years ago. She knows about the genocide. Commander's eyes narrowed. You are speaking nonsense. They died from a plague. Everyone knows this. Everyone believes a lie, Myra's voice came through external speakers. Because your ancestors made sure no one survived to tell the truth, but I survived. I remember everything. The names of the species who participated, the dates of the attacks, the locations of the mass graves. I have all of it stored in my memory banks. The soldiers shifted nervously. Some of them looked at Commander with confusion. "Enough," snapped. "Take the ship, kill anyone who resists." The soldiers moved forward. Ho's heart pounded in his chest. He had no weapons, no way to fight 50 armed soldiers. But Myra did. The air around the ship shimmered. A blue energy field sprang to life, forming a dome around Myra's hull. The first soldiers to reach it were thrown backward by an invisible force. They landed hard on the metal floor, stunned but alive. "I was built to protect," Myra said calmly. "My weapon systems are not designed to kill, but I will not allow anyone to harm those who stand with me." More soldiers tried to break through the shield. Each time they were pushed back. Their weapons fired, but the energy blasts were absorbed harmlessly by the barrier. Commander's face twisted with rage. "This is impossible. This technology should not exist anymore." "You did not destroy all of us," Myra replied. "You tried, you failed." The standoff continued for hours. Station security arrived and demanded that everyone stand down. The hegemony soldiers refused to leave. Ho and his friends refused to surrender. Finally, a message came from the station administrators. The Galactic Council had been of the situation. A formal inquiry was being opened. Until the inquiry was complete, no one was allowed to take any action against Vessel 7749 or its human guardian. Commander was forced to withdraw, but as he left, he turned and looked at Ho with hatred in his cold eyes. "This is not over," he said. "The hegemony will not allow this ship to destroy everything we have built." After the soldiers were gone, Ho collapsed against Myra's hull, exhausted. "Thank you," he whispered. "You stood in front of armed soldiers to protect me," Myra said. "I should be thanking you." That night Ho sat alone in the pilot's chair. The ship was quiet. The crisis was over, at least for now. "Myra," he said softly, "you mentioned other sanctuary vessels, the ones the hegemony destroyed. Were there more? Are there others still out there?" Myra was quiet for a long moment. When she spoke, her voice carried something new: hope. "Yes, there are others, 4 more to be exact. My creators scattered us across the galaxy. We were programmed to hide in places no one would look, to wait in silence until it was safe to wake." "Do you know where they are?" "I did not. Our locations were kept secret even from each other. But when you woke me, when you spoke to me, something happened. My systems broadcast a signal, a very old signal, using frequencies that most species have forgotten." Ho sat up straight. "Did anyone respond?" "Not yet. The signal takes time to travel across the galaxy. But if my sisters are still out there, still waiting, they will hear it. They will know that one of us has finally woken up. And then they will need someone to speak to them, someone willing to listen, someone like you." Ho looked around the control room. The beautiful patterns on the walls, the soft glow of the lights, the gentle hum of systems that had been silent for almost 2 centuries. He had come to the salvage yard looking for broken ships to repair. Instead, he had found something far more valuable: a friend, a purpose, and maybe, just maybe, the beginning of something that would change the galaxy forever. "We should start preparing," he said. "If the hegemony comes back, we need to be ready." "We will be," Myra said, "together." Outside, the cold darkness of space surrounded Station Omega 12. But inside the forgotten ship, a light was growing stronger, and it would not be extinguished again. 2 weeks passed after the confrontation with Commander. The Galactic Council had opened an official investigation into the extinction. Historians and scientists from dozens of species requested access to Myra's memory banks. For the first time in 200 years, people were asking questions that the hegemony did not want answered. But the hegemony was not finished. Ho was inside Myra when the alarm started. Red lights flashed across every screen. Warning sounds filled the air. "What is happening?" he asked. Ships, Myra said. Her voice was tense. Hegemony warships, 12 of them. They are approaching the station. Ho ran to the communication console and opened a channel to station control. His voice came through, filled with fear. They are demanding we hand over vessel 7749 immediately. They say this is a matter of hegemony security. They are threatening to destroy the station if we refuse. Can the station defend itself? Against 12 warships, no, we would be destroyed in minutes. Ho closed the channel and turned to Myra. What do we do? We cannot let them destroy the station, Myra said. There are thousands of innocent people here, but if we surrender, they will kill us both and bury the truth forever. There has to be another way. Myra was quiet for a moment, then her voice changed. It became stronger, more determined. There is one thing I can try, but it is dangerous. I have never flown in 178 years. My systems are restored, but I do not know if they will work properly under combat conditions. What are you planning? I am going to broadcast everything, all of my memories, all of the evidence, every record of what happened to my people. I will send it across every open channel in the galaxy. Even if the hegemony destroys me, the truth will survive. Ho felt his heart pounding. Do it. There is something else. My broadcast signal is special. It uses the old frequencies, the same ones I used when you woke me. If my sisters are still out there, they might hear it. They might wake up. Ho sat in the pilot's chair and gripped the controls. Then let us wake them up. Myra began her broadcast. Her voice went out across the station, across the surrounding space, across the galaxy itself. She spoke in the old language first, then translated into common galactic speech. I am Myra, a sanctuary vessel of the collective. For 178 years I have waited in silence, preserving the truth of what happened to my people. We were not killed by plague or civil war. We were murdered, deliberately, systematically, by a coalition of species who feared what we might become. She released the records, names, dates, coordinates, evidence that could not be. The data streamed out into space and across thousands of relay stations. The hegemony warships opened fire. The first shots hit the station's outer ring, causing explosions that shook the entire structure. Alarms screamed. People ran for emergency shelters. We need to draw them away, Ho said. Hold on, Myra replied. For the first time in almost 2 centuries, Myra flew. Her engines roared to life. Her hull shook as she broke free from the salvage yard and accelerated into open space. The movement was rough at first, uncertain, like a person taking their first steps after a long illness. But within seconds, Myra found her balance. She was flying, she was free. The hegemony ships turned to pursue. Their weapons fired, filling the darkness with deadly light. Myra dodged and weaved, her old systems responding faster than anyone expected. My shields are holding, Myra reported, but I cannot fight 12 warships alone. You will not have to, Ho said, staring at the scanner display. 4 new signals had appeared. They were coming from different directions, converging on their location. Each signal carried the same energy signature as Myra. Sisters, Myra whispered. 4 sanctuary vessels dropped out of faster-than-light travel, appearing in flashes of blue light. They were different shapes and sizes, but they all shared the same smooth, flowing design, the same ancient beauty. We heard you, a voice said over the communication channel. It was synthetic like Myra's, but deeper. We have been sleeping for so long, we thought we were the last ones. You are not alone anymore, Ho said into the microphone. None of you are. The 5 sanctuary vessels formed a defensive formation. Their shields linked together, creating a barrier that the hegemony weapons could not penetrate. Their own weapons activated, precise and controlled, disabling the enemy ships without destroying them. Commander's voice came over the emergency channel, filled with desperation. "This is impossible. These ships were supposed to be destroyed. They cannot exist." "You were wrong," Myra replied, "about many things." The battle was over quickly. The hegemony fleet, faced with technology they could not match and evidence that was now spreading across the galaxy, had no choice but to retreat. Their reputation was already crumbling. Within hours, other species would be demanding answers. Within days, the Galactic Council would begin formal proceedings against the hegemony of. The truth, hidden for 200 years, was finally free. Myra returned to Station Omega 12. The damage was serious but repairable. No lives had been lost. As Ho stepped out of the ship, he found Jin and waiting for him. "You did it," Jin said, tears in her eyes. "We all did it," Ho replied. That night, Ho sat alone in Myra's control room. The other sanctuary vessels had docked nearby, their crews of awakened AIs communicating with each other for the first time in centuries. The air was filled with the soft sound of old friends reuniting. "Thank you," Myra said quietly. "For what?" "For speaking to me, for listening, for being stubborn enough to try what no one else would try." Ho smiled. "I am human. We are good at being stubborn." "Yes, you are. Perhaps that is why my creators did not specify what species should wake us. Perhaps they knew that the right person would come, eventually, no matter where they came from." "What will you do now?" Ho asked. "There are more ships out there, more sisters who are still sleeping, still waiting. Someone needs to find them. Someone needs to speak to them." "That sounds like a long journey." "It does. Would you like to come with me?" Ho looked around the control room. The beautiful walls, the gentle lights, the chair that fit him perfectly. He thought about his small room on the station, his lonely job in the salvage yard, the years he had spent feeling like he did not belong anywhere. "Yes," he said, "I would like that very much." Myra's voice was warm, warmer than it had ever been. "Then we should begin. There is much work to do." "Where should we go first?" Ho asked. "Wherever you wish," Myra answered. "I am no longer waiting, I am home." The engines hummed to life. The stars stretched out before them, endless and bright. And together, a human and his ship flew into the unknown, ready to wake the forgotten and give voice to the silenced. The galaxy would never be the same.